mag-aral sa math, walang maiiwan. Math-sayang Math-aral tayo ng Math-tuto, upang ika'y umasenso. Maging matyaga, maging matalino, halina Math-aral na tayo. Maging matyaga, maging matalino, halina Math-aral na tayo. Halina Math-aral na tayo. Halina Math-aral na tayo. Halina, 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 aral na tayo.
Hello sa ating mga batang mandunong at home learning partners. Muli tayong nagbabalik sa ating Project SOAR para mag-aral at Math-tuto mula sa isa sa mga magagaling na guro ng CMSHS. He is a teacher 2 in CMSHS for 19 years. He is a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Secondary Education, major in Mathematics at Rizal Technological College. He also finished academic requirements for master's degree at National Teachers College. He is an MTAP scholar, an MTAP trainer, and currently a grade 9 math teacher. Our next lecturer for Project SOAR Week 5, Mr. Ricky F. Fabic.
Thank you, Ma'am Kay, for that warm introduction. Have a nice day, everyone. I am Teacher Ricky from the City of Mandaluyong Science High School, and I'm your today's lecturer. So, Batang MANDunongs, learning partners, please join me as I discuss to you Week 5 of the third quarter lessons. And so, are you ready to learn? Let's begin. Our competencies. Describes a proportion. Applies the fundamental theorems of proportionality to solve problems involving proportion. And for our objectives, to describe a proportion, to solve problems involving proportions using the fundamental theorems of proportionality. But before we start with our main focus for this session, I want you to answer this question. Which of the following is or are equivalent to 1/4? Is it 5/20? Is it 50%? Is it 0.25? Is it 1:4? Or 3:8? I hope you will get the right pick. The following are equivalent to 1/4. 5/20, 0.25, and 1:4. Now, why are they equivalent to 1/4? How are they related to 1/4? Maybe some of you may say, sir, 1/4 is the simplified form of 5/20, and that's right. Sir, 0.25 is the decimal form or decimal value when I divide 1/4. Yes, and that's right also. And that, sir, 1:4 is the other way of expressing 1/4, and that's great. And so I think at this point, it seems that you are ready with our lesson for today. What is ratio? What do you know about ratio? Ratio is a comparison between two or more quantities of the same kind and the same units. It also tells us how much one thing is compared to another. So given two numbers A and B, where b is not equal to 0, the ratio between a and b is the quotient of a and b. We have three ways in expressing a ratio. First one is fractional form, wherein a is compared to b, no? A, the numerator, over the denominator. They're being compared. We have also a colon b, or colon form, wherein colon is placed between a and b. It's read as a is to b. And we have also the word form, which is a is to b. Now let's try solving problems involving ratio. First problem. Out of 40 survivors of the COVID-19 in a certain barangay in Mandaluyong City, 25 of them are males. Before we answer this problem, let's be reminded that a ratio should always be expressed in its simplest form, just like fraction. So first question, what is the ratio of male survivors to the number of survivors? So we're comparing here male survivors to number of survivors. So the order of the quantity is really important, or should not be taken for granted. So dapat male survivors to number of survivors. So in the problem we have 25 male out of 40 survivors. So we have 25 is to 40. And so just like fraction, we must get its simplest form. So divide both of them by 5. So we have 5 is to 8, the ratio of male survivors to the number of survivors. Next, what is the ratio of female survivors to the number of survivors? So by the way, in the first question, we're comparing a part to a whole, no? Isang buo, isang proportion sa whole. In number 2, it's the same as number 1. We are comparing here part to a whole, because female survivors is just part of the 40 survivors, the whole thing. Now, so female survivors to number of survivors. That's the one being compared. So there are 15 female survivors out of 40. Saan nakuha ang 15? Now it's just a matter of subtracting 25 from 40. So the ratio of female survivors to number of survivors is 15 is to 40. So again, taking its lowest term, dividing them by 5. So therefore the ratio of the female survivors to the number of survivors is 3 is to 8. Number 3, what is the ratio of the male survivors to the female survivors? So this is part is to part relationship. So it's already known to us that there are 25 male survivors and we have 15 female survivors. So just taking their ratio and then dividing them by 5. So therefore the ratio of the male survivors to the female survivors is 5 is to 3. So this is it. Problems about ratio. Problem number 2. Two complementary angles are in the ratio of 7 is to 11. Find the two angles. So we're comparing here the measures of the smaller angle to the measure of the bigger angle. I'll not solve this problem algebraically or using any variable, but rather just using arithmetic. No? So I'll represent 7 for the smaller angle and 11 for the bigger angle. Now next, I'll be adding 7 and 11. So 7 plus 11 is equal to 18. That's the whole thing. But of course, before solving it, we have to take note that complementary angles are two angles whose sum is equal to 90 degrees. Let me continue. So to solve for the smaller angle, I'll take 7 out of 18 and multiply it with 90 degrees. So I can cancel out 18 and 90 degrees. So I have 5 degrees. Then times 7 is equal to 35 degrees, meaning the smaller angle measures 35 degrees. On the other hand, to solve for the bigger number, let's take 11 out of 18 and multiply it also with 90 degrees, canceling out 18 and 90 degrees, so I have 5 degrees. And multiplying 11 times 5 degrees, we have 55 degrees. Okay, now let's check if the ratio of 35 degrees to 55 degrees is equal to 7:11. So that's nice, no? That's right. So we simply divide both of them by 5 degrees. So we have 7:11. Be reminded that whenever we're dealing with ratio, we are not anymore using or connecting units. No. Now, one thing more, if we're going to add 35 degrees and 55 degrees, we have 90 degrees because these two angles are said to be complementary angles. Last problem. What is the ratio of 1 foot to 8 inches? No. So we're comparing here 1 foot to 8 inches. If you answer 1:8, then you're wrong. No, because though we are dealing with we're dealing with the same kind, no, because they're both dealing with the length, but as you notice, they are of different units. So we cannot answer that as 1:8. So there's a matter of converting one of them in such a way that they will be having the same unit, and I prefer just comparing inches to inches. So we have to convert 1 foot to inches. So we all know that 1 foot is 12 inches. So we have now 12 inches is to 8, and then getting their simplest, slowest term, so dividing both of them by 4. Therefore, the ratio of 1 foot to 8 inches is 3:2. Now, at this point of time, let's now discuss proportion. What is proportion? And what do you know about proportion? No? Proportion is a statement of the equality of two ratios. So if A over B and C over D are equal ratios, where B is not equal to 0 and D is not also equal to 0, this can be written in two ways. The first one is using fractional form rather, and the other one is using ratio. It's read as A is to B as C is to D. Guys, when the concept of ratio and proportion actually is very essential in mathematics, no? Because this gives rise to the development of other concepts such as slopes of a line, probability, relative sizes, similarity, and trigonometric ratio. So fourth quarter we'll be using this because one of the topics in the fourth quarter is all about trigonometric ratio. Moving on. Each term of a proportion is given special names, and the naming is based on the relative position of its term. So the first one is what we call first proportional, B is our second proportional, C our third proportional, and D is our fourth proportional. The second and the third proportional are referred to as the means, and likewise the first and the fourth proportional are referred to as the extremes. In the same manner, if it's written in ratio form, B and C are the inner terms, and they are known as the means. And A and D are the outer terms, and they are known as the extremes. Okay, so now let's discuss the properties of proportions. First property of proportion, we have the cross multiplication property. And so, if A over B is equal to C over D, take note, B and D should not be equal to 0. Then, AD is equal to BC. So, if you're going to look at it closely, saan nakuha si AD at saka si BC? So, it is just simply cross-multiplying A times D and also B times C. Okay, now, this is actually known as the fundamental properties of a proportion. So the fundamental property of a proportion states that the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. Kasi alam natin na ang A at D ay extremes at yung B at C ay means. So the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. Now, let's try to prove where did we obtain that AD is equal to BC. So this is what we're going to do. So yun nga, no? So A and D are being multiplied, and B and C are multiplied also at the same time. Now, proof. Multiply both sides by BD. So let's have A over B times BD is equal to C over D times BD also. And then we canceled out B at the left, and we canceled out D at the right. So anong naiwan lang natin dito? Ang naiwan na lang is A times D is equal to BC. So na-prove natin kung saan nakuha si AD is equal to BC, no? Aside from using this cross multiplication here. Now let's have an example. We all know that 2/5 is equal to 8 over 20. No? Equal sila. Because when you multiply 2 by 4, you got 8. When you multiplied 5 by 4, you got 20. So i-apply natin itong cross multiplication na to. So simply just multiply 2 times 20, so you have 40, and 5 times 8, you will also have 40. So meaning they are equal. So once again, cross multiplication property, or the so-called fundamental property of proportion, which states that the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. This property actually enables us to test quickly if a given pair of ratios will form a proportion, and we'll be doing that later. Next property is what we call alternation property. So if A over B is equal to C over D, take note that B and D should not be equal to 0. Then A over C is equal to B over D. If you're going to analyze the given equation here, paanong nakuha natin si A over C is equal to B over D? So, parang dito, yung A na ito, in-over natin dun sa C. At yung B na ito, we compared it to D. No? This actually interchanging the means and the extremes. No? Parang pinagpalit mo lang yung mean sa extreme. Parang ganito. Yung A dito is the extreme. Tapos, kinumpare siya dun kay C. Ano ba si C? C is the means. And in the same manner, alam natin na si B ay part ng means. Tapos, siya ay i-compare natin kay D, which is what? D is an extreme. So this is interchanging the means or extremes of a proportion results in another proportion. So, let's prove. So, yun nga, no? So, ang A over C is just B over D. Yun ang ating pattern. Now, proof. So, multiply both sides of the equation by B over C. So, ito na nga, no? So, sa kaliwa, na-cancel si B, at sa kanan naman, na-cancel naman si C. So, ang naiwan na lang is A over C is equal to B over D. So, makes sense. So, na-prove natin. Now, let's have an example. Ito yung ating example na ginamit kanina, no? Para, matest natin kung talagang pareho nga talaga ang kalalabasan. So, 2 over 5 is equal to 8 over 20. So, by just following the pattern, no? So, ang gawin natin is 2 over 8 is equal to 5 over 10. And again, applying the cross multiplication here, let's try if their cross products are also the same. So 2 times 20 is equal to 40, and also 8 times 5 is equal to 14. So this is what we call the alternation property of proportion, or interchanging the mean and the extreme property. Next, we have the inverse property. Ano kaya itong inverse property na ito? No. So if A over B is equal to C over D, then B over A is equal to D over C. So take note again that B, D, A, and C should not be equal to 0. So, kapag ating i-analyze ito ng maigi, yung A over B is equal to C over D, ngayon naging B over A, is to D is to C, no? So, parang it's just a matter of interchanging the position of the numerator and denominator. Kaya nga na-invert. No? Na-invert lang siya. So, let's have the proof. So, multiply both sides of the equation. I mean, A over B equals C over D by BD over AC. Ayun. So, na-multiply natin to. And then, sa kaliwa, na-cancel natin si B at also si A. So, ang naiwan na lang is D over C. Sa kanan naman, na-cancel natin si C at na-cancel din natin si D. So, ang naiwan dito ay C over A. So, therefore, B over A is equal to D over C. Sir, di ba dapat sa kaliwa ay D over C at sa kanan ay B over A? No, parang lang yan. Alam niyo naman yung natawag nating symmetric property of equality, no? So, they are just equal. So, we have proven that if A over B is equal to C over D, interchanging the position of the numerator and denominator will give us another ratio. Let's have an example. So, we all know that 2/5 is equal to 8 over 10. So, let's just follow the pattern, no? It is 5 over 2 is equal to 20 over 8. Ayun lang. And so, let's again verify if their cross products are equal using the cross multiplication. So, 5 times 8 is equal to 40. So, as 2 times 20 is also equal to 40. Next, we have what we call the addition property of equality. So it goes this way. If A over B is equal to C over D, then A plus B over B is equal to C plus D over D. Again, take note that B and D should not be equal to 0. Now, tignan natin to. Dating A over B equal kay C over D. Anong nangyari sa kanan? Paano sila naging equal? Okay, tignan nyo to. So, dito inad lang natin si A and B. So, A plus B, ito yon. Tapos, in-over lang natin siya doon sa denominator doon sa kabila. At sa kanan naman is just simply also adding C and D at atin siyang in-over, no? I mean, over the denominator of this particular fraction. So, ito siya. Okay? So, ano ang kanyang proof? So, add 1 to both sides of the equation. No? Mag-add tayo ng 1 sa kanilang dalawa. But the 1 here that will be adding to this one should be B over B. Sir, bakit B over B? Kasi B yung kanyang denominator. At syempre, dun din sa C over D, ang ating i-add sa kanya ay 1 din, na ang value ay D over D. Kasi D itong kanyang denominator. So, ito na. So, yun nga, A over B plus B over B is equal to C over D plus D over D. So, notice they are similar fractions. They are similar fractions. So, the rule is just simply adding the numerators and just simply copy the denominator. So, therefore, A plus B over B is equal to C plus D over D. So, done. Na-prove natin. No? Let's have an example again. So, ito pa rin yung ating example na ginagamit. Kaya na pa. 2 over 5 is equal to 8 over 20. Itong gagawin natin. No? So, si 2/5, mag-add ka sa kanya ng 5 over 5. Ito yung value niyan na 1. 5 because of this. At sa kanan, 8 over 20 plus 1. And the 1 here is just the same as 20 over 20. And so by adding it further, so adding the numerators, 2 plus 5 equals 7, and copy 5. On the right side, 8 plus 20 equals 28 over 20. Sir, are they equal? What shall we do? Sir, ito 7 times 4 is 28. 5 times 4 is 20. Yeah, they're equal. But let's try getting their cross products. Let's multiply them. Cross multiplication. So 140 is equal to 140. So meaning this makes sense. The addition property of proportion. Next, if we have addition property of proportion, we have also subtraction property of proportion. So parehang-pareho lang. So, ang iba lang is tayo ay nag-subtract. Kaya nga, subtraction property of proportion. So, if A over B is equal to C over D, then A minus B is equal to C minus D all over D. Take note that B, D should not be equal to 0. So, ito po yung ating pattern ulit parang kagaya ng kanina, no? So, let's find out kung saan to na-derive, kung saan to nakuha. So, let's have a proof. So, subtract 1 to both sides using 1. No? Parang yung kanina. Yung B na ito over B is the denominator of this fraction. And the D over D here is the denominator of this fraction here. And we all know that they are both equal to 1. So, yun ang ating ibabawas sa A over B at saka C over D. So, A minus B is equal to A minus B over B. And C minus D is equal to C minus D all over D. So, ito na po siya. So, we have proven that if A over B equals C over D, magkakaroon tayo daw ng isang proportion na equal din. Paano? subtract, no? A minus B over B is equal to C minus D over the D. Example. So 2/5 is, equal to 8 over 20. So just follow the pattern. So 2 minus, so 2 over 5 minus 5 over 5 is equal to 8 over 20 minus 20 over 20. So we have negative 3 over 5 is equal to negative 12 over 20. Are they equal? Yes, of course. Because when you multiply 3 by 4, you got 12. When you multiply 5 by 4, you will get 20. And not only that, by using cross multiplication, their products are the same. Negative 60 is equal to negative 60. Our last property of proportion is known as the summation property. So there's something to do with addition, no? So if A over B equals C over D, we're in B and D should not be equal to 0, then A plus C over B plus D is equal to K, no? Ano kaya itong K na to? Now, yung K na ito, yung tinatawag nating constant of proportionality, yung lowest term nilang dalawa. So, alam niyo naman ang lowest term. Pag sinabi na ang fraction ay naka-lowest term na, the GCF that exists between the numerator and denominator is just 1 or negative 1. So, let's prove. Okay, proof is we let A over B equals K. And also let C over D is equal to K, no? Ito, nilet natin kay K. At yung C over D, nilet din natin kay K. And then multiplying this, AB is equal to K is equivalent to A times BK. No? Para bang multiply mo lang to, BK is equal to A. Also here, DK is equal to C. No? Now, if we're going to add A and C, parang inadin natin si BK at saka si DK at equal sila. Bakit? Because A is equal to BK and C is equal to DK. Para bang we're using the substitution. No? Okay. Now, what do you see at the right side? What can you observe about this one? No? Anong na-observe nyo dito? Okay, sir, they are sharing a common factor which is K. So, ating i-factor out si K, no? Nilabas si K. And now, let's divide both of them by B plus D. So, syempre, B plus D cancels out. So, therefore, K now is equal to A plus C over B plus D. So, dito i-add daw natin silang dalawa. At eto, add daw natin sila. Ngayon, yung kalalabas ng sagot daw nila ay K. Yung K dito, yung kanilang simplest form. Example. So, 2 over 5 is equal to 8 over 20. So, add natin si 2 plus 8. Adding the numerators over adding the denominators. So, 2 plus 8 equals 10. 5 plus 20 is equal to 25. Ano ang kanilang lowest term? The lowest term of 10 over 25 is equal to 2/5. At yun. No? Kasi ang 2/5 ay lowest term ng 8 over 20. Now, for us to have a clear understanding about this summation property, let's have this problem. So, give 5 fractions equivalent to 3/5. Bigyan mo raw ako ng 5 fractions na equivalent kay 3/5. So, some of those are 6 over 10. Equal din kay 12 over 20. Equal din kay 21 over 35. At equal din kay 27 over 45. at equal din kay 33 over 55. So, check nyo munang maigi. Sila ba ay equivalent kay 3/5? Yes, of course. So, the 5 of them are all equivalent to 3/5. So, let's try adding the numerators. So, 6 plus 12 plus 21 plus 27 plus 33 is equal to 99. No? It's the sum of the numerators. And then, adding also the denominators, so 10 plus 20 plus 35 plus 45 is equal, plus 55 is equal to 165. So, alam natin na 99 over 165 ay hindi pa naka-lowest term, no? So, we have to get their GCF. And the GCF of 99 and 165 is 33. And so, we'll divide 99 and 165 by 33. So, what is the result? The quotient is equal to 3/5. Diba? So, etong kanilang yung lowest term nung sum nung numerators at yung sum ng denominators, syempre fraction ng kakalabasan is 3/5. Ito yung tinatawag nating constant of proportionality. Kasi ito yung lowest term nilang apat. So, di ba? So, that's what we call the summation property of proportion. This time, let's try to solve problems about proportion. Direction. Determine whether the following pairs of ratios are in proportion. Number 1. 7 over 9 and 28 over 36. So, para malaman natin na sila ay proportion or hindi, we just simply get their cross products. No? So, 7 times 36 is equal to 252. 9 times 28 is also equivalent to 252. And so, they are equal. And so, we can now say that this pair of ratios is manifesting a proportion. Next, we have 5:8 and 7:11. No, so we can also apply what we call the so-called multiplying the means and multiplying the extremes. So 8 times 7 is equal to 56. 7 times 11, 5 times 11 is equal to 55. So let's compare. We all know that 55 is not equal to 56. That's why this pair of ratio is not a proportion. So it's just simply getting the cross products. What about this one? 24 over 27 and 8 over 9. So once again, let's just do the cross multiplication. So 24 times 9 is equal to 216. 27 times 8 is equivalent to 16. So obviously, they are said to be, their cross products are equal. So we can now conclude that it is a proportion. Another one. Find the value of the variable in each of the following. X over 9 is equal to 4 over 6. If they are said to be equal, so what should be the value of x? So cross multiply. So 6x equal to 36. Divide both sides by 6. And so therefore x is equal to 6. And so just let's find out kung talagang tama. So if this is 6, 6 times 6, 36. 4 times 9 is also equal to 36. Next, this one. No. Dito, kung ayaw mong mag-cross multiply, pwede rin naman na i-multiply mo silang dalawa ng kanilang LCD. No? We all know that the LCD of, or the LCM of 5 and A is 5A. But since they are used as denominators, tatawagin natin silang LCD. So, multiply both sides by 5A. So, na-cancel si 5. And then, 3A na lang. Is equal to, na-cancel si A. 12 times 5 is equal to 60. Dividing both sides by 3. And so A is equal to 20. Check natin. Kung siya ay 20, 20 times 3 equals 60. 5 times 12 is also 60. So therefore, A is equal to 20. Wala nang iba. Last one. N plus 4 over 14 is equal to N minus 2 over 2. Medyo mahaba to. Medyo komplikado. So still, with the aid of cross multiplication or multiplying both sides by their LCD, we can solve this. So ang ginawa ko na lang is cross multiplication. So 14 times N minus 2, and then it should be equal to 2 times N plus 4. So 14N minus 28 is equal to 2N plus 8. Para ma-solve natin si N, nawala si 2N sa kaliwa, we have to add negative 2N on both sides. So nawala si 2N sa kanan, at nag-add tayo, no? 14 plus negative 2N is equal to 12N. Then para mawala naman si negative 28 dito, no? We have to add both sides of the equation by 28. We're applying here the addition property of equality. So na-cancel si 28 saka si negative 28. Ang natira sa kanan, inad natin si 8 and 28, we have 36. And of course, to solve for N, divide both sides by 12. And so the answer is N equals 3. So check natin. Kung siya ay 3 plus 4 is 7. 7 times 2, 14. Kung siya ay 3 minus 2 equals 1 times 14 equals 14. So their cross products are equal to 14. So this is how to solve, to find this is how we solving a variable in an equation. Is cross multiplication or multiplying both sides of the equation by their LCD. What about this problem? Complete each statement. If 2a is equal to 5b, a over b is equal to blank. What do you think? Kapag ang 2a daw ay equal kay 5b, ano kaya si a over b equal to? Guess what? Okay, the answer is equal to 5 halves. Sure, paano nalaman yun? Check natin. Cross multiply. A times 2, 2a. 5 times b, 5b. So a over b is equal to 5 halves. What about this one? A over 5. So kailangan, ano kaya dito at saka dito na pag ating multiply itong sagot natin. So syempre, dapat ang ating fraction ay b over 2. Bakit? Kasi 2 times a is equal to 2a. 5 times b is equal to 5b. Ngayon, kung ang sagot mo ay 2 over b, it does not make sense. Because a times b is ab, na dapat sana ay 5b. Or, syempre, dapat ay ito ang ating kakalabasan. Next, if x over y is equal to y over 13, so ano? What kind of property of multiplication should be applied here? No? Yung kanina, kung naalala nyo. Okay? That's the alternation property. No? So, it means x over y is equal to 8 over 13. So, the correct answer should be 8 over 13. No? Kasi x over y is equal to 8 over 13. What about this one? So, syempre, 13x is equal to 8y. Okay? Last one. Medyo ano to, komplikado ng konti. If xm plus xn is equal to ym minus yn, what is the ratio of x to y? Or what is x over y equal to? So, ang sagot natin dito ay a minus n over n plus n. Sir, paano nakuha yan? Ay, tingin tayo dito. No? Notice that xm and xn has a common factor, and that is x. No? Ito nilabas natin sa x. At sa kanan, ym and yn is sharing a common factor, and that is equal to y. Nilabas natin si y. So, tignan mo to. X times mn is equal to y times mn. So, dapat lang talagang itong sagot natin kasi x times m plus n is equal to x times the quantity of m plus n. And y times m minus n is equal to y times the quantity of m minus n. So again, in here, x over y is equal to m minus n all over m plus n. Okay, so this time let's solve problems. Now problems. Applying proportion. A car travels 120 miles in 3 hours. How far would it travel in 4 hours? So solution, let x be the distance traveled by a car in 4 hours. Gaano kaya kalayo ang travel ng car within 4 hours? So our working equation is 120 over 3 is equal to x over 4. So notice that the numerators are both dealing with distance and the denominators are both dealing with time with respect to hours. So to solve this, let's just do the cross multiplication. So 3x is equal to 4 times 120. And then getting the product, 3x is equal to 480. And of course, dividing both of them by 3, we obtained x is equal to 160. So therefore, the car covered a distance of 160 miles in 4 hours. For our last problem, Cheswell is typing a paper that is 420 words long. He can type 20 words in a minute. How long will it take him to type the paper? Solution, let x be the time it will take Cheswell to type 40 words. That is in terms of minutes. For our working equation, 420. So dito ang ginamit natin is hindi na fraction kundi ratio. So pwede naman kasi na fractional form or ratio form. So 420 is to x as 20 is to 1, no? Kasi ang ratio na ang natatype down niya ay 20 words per minute. So ito siya. So ito naman 420 ilang, no? Ilang minuto. So using the product extreme property or multiplying the means, so you have 20x and the product of the extremes is equal to 420. And so dividing both sides of the equation by 20, and so therefore x is equal to 21. In other words, Jeswell can type the 420 words long in 21 minutes. Okay? So we are done with our discussion and I hope that you learned something from me. Tandaan natin, magagamit natin itong proportion na to sa ating topic na similarity, no? And also the trigonometric ratio. So but before I end up my discussion, I want you to be motivated or be be enlightened with this quotation from Vince Lombardi. The quality of a person's life is in direct proportion to their commitment to excellence, regardless of their chosen field of endeavor. So, tama nga naman. And so that's all for today. Thank you for listening. And have a nice day. God bless us all. Thank you.